Okay, we'll get the meeting started. This is our August planning session. We'll do opportunity for citizens to be heard. I'm assuming the first one is Dan Long, since I saw you sign first.
Well, mine's over the street issue on the parking, but on the permits, you could pass them down or look at them. I had talked to the neighbors, and that's just a survey that I had done. They're all different, but all the people
Pass
in
them all
there,
down. Oh, just pass them all.
each one of the residents wrote what they wanted on that parking permit. But the parking in front of my store is critical to my business. I need at least people to be able to pull in, drop something off and leave, and stop and pick up. Putting yellow lines there is totally going to kill me. A lot of my people are senior citizens, and they kind of like depend on me to at least lift the lawnmower out of their car. And that's one of the things I try to do. I try to provide my service as neat as possible down there. I realize sometimes I'm not perfectly clean there, but I'm trying to keep up with what you asked me to do and take care of that. But the parking is definitely my livelihood. Take that away and it basically kills me. And you had mentioned about off-street parking. There's a lot of businesses in town that don't have it either. And you can go around, I can list them, and you said about the street was another issue about the width. Highland, Coolidge, and Hill are all the same width, 30 feet 6 inches. So to me, the issue is being able to get around the corner without being obstructed by a trailer. That's the whole key to this whole meeting on the street parking. I feel that anytime they're in the wrong, they should get a ticket. I've been up their butt trying to make sure that that doesn't happen and keep the street clear. I mean, that's as much as I can say at the moment. I mean, I don't know what you guys are going to talk about, but this is my way of life, and I've been down here since 1976. This has been the way of life for me, selling hardware and that. I don't sell that much hardware anymore because Ace is killing me. You know, big thing I do anymore is repair, and at Christmas time, I toy trains for the kids. You know, I make a few keys and I sell some two-cycle mix. I mean, if you have any questions for me, ask me.
Any questions?
No, can we do something to help them out?
Well, that's on the agenda.
Okay, that's on the
We'll
agenda.
talk
All
about
right.
it. It's just citizens to be heard.
All right. Thank you.
Emma?
Yeah, could I stay seated?
Sure.
I wanted to talk about the property that's at the bottom of Chesapeake Avenue. Across the street.
Those are for you guys to take.
Abandoned and unlicensed cars. There's one that's up on blocks there, and I just wondered if there was anything that we could do. I mean, it looks terrible down there, and it seems like in the last 6 months it's just started. I think it's the railroad property, somebody told me, I don't know. People park there, but I'm amazed. It's across from the Sunoco gas station.
I thought people were parking there.
No, but there's at least 3 or 4 abandoned cars there, and
Windows
they've
are
been
open.
there.
The windows are open on some of them, the rain's coming in on them, so you know they're
Yeah,
abandoned.
and the ones up on blocks.
Oh,
Is that where Nacy's used to be? Right? Where Nacy's used to be?
No,
No,
this
straight- I know,
is
straight
down where the
across.
little railroad station
Oh,
used to
okay,
be.
okay.
That place where people park to, to go to the different businesses.
it's like on the right of Blockdale. I thought people were parking here for the bus or something.
Some of them do, but they're,
But if they're abandoned, then we can take an action, right, to have them towed away. I think that's against an ordinance.
Oh, yeah, I think so too.
There's 4 of them we know of that are abandoned.
Yeah, there's no
The windows are
license.
open, the
No
ones up on
license.
blocks, and
Yeah.
Right.
Is
So
that,
we
is
can
that
look,
police or is that,
we can look into
is
that.
that police
Okay.
or zoning? I don't know.
Yeah, every year we do a cleanup. We go through and we tell people to get rid of their junk and their old cars and such that aren't licensed or registered. So he does do that in his Roy small lately, so we haven't had that opportunity to do that yet.
So the police go through and do that?
They have in the past, every year we do it. Let people know, especially on the streets. Now when it gets, well, they give them verbal notification if it's on private property. And that would be zoning.
We'll look into it.
Okay, then I have a second thing. Across the street, the Sunoco gas station, he is surrounded by beds of weeds and wild trees growing and a dilapidated Harmer Township volunteer sign, fire department sign. And it's a mess. When you were driving to Cheswick, it looks like Appalachia. I can't believe it. So I
Where's
think
that at?
that's the Sunoco on Cheswick Avenue and
Oh, the
Pittsburgh
actual
Street.
Sunoco
Yes,
property?
the guy
Yes.
planted lilies or something, but didn't maintain it, so,
It's a
yeah.
weed bed.
It probably is a noxious weed thing.
And there's a couple trees that are, they're about this high now. You're sitting in your car and you're trying to look up the road for traffic coming and they're obstructing it.
That sounds like a zoning issue.
Yeah,
So those are my complaints. Thank you.
Okay.
those are concerns.
Those are concerns. Okay. I can't read it. Paul?
Oh, Paul, thank you. It's Cagna.
Okay.
Thank you for calling on me. I am addressing the parking issue on Coolidge also. I've lived on Coolidge since I was in the second grade, except for a very, very short time. And I do not,
Where on Coolidge do you live?
on the upper part. But I go
Dead
through,
end part.
yeah, but I go through the bottom, I work through the bottom part all the time.
Okay.
Get in and out. I find, I don't know how, if you were misquoted in the Valley News Dispatch, but it was, you saying it was just a mess, it's become a tremendous amount of congestion. I never found that to see that. I think that's overstated, at least in my opinion. I'm listening, I'll be glad to listen to anyone else, but the proposed parking, now I know you're here to maybe think about it or talk about it, but as it was listed in the paper, will impact all those businesses down there. And I think it's an overreaction to maybe there is a problem once in a while. It's an overreaction to a problem that's transient. It's not all the time. So I think, like Danny said, you're probably putting them out of business. And, those are commercial properties. That building, I was talking to someone the other day, and it's been there since the 50s. And most of the time, it's been occupied, has been occupied by a repair business. Briefly, it was occupied by Josephine LeMayo, a notary for a short while. But most of the time it was there. It was a gas station before, and it was a tire place, and tire capping place, and they sold tires. So it's always been a commercial business. If there's a problem with somebody parking incorrectly and causing trouble, I agree with Dan. Have the police ticket them and even tow them away. But Danny was talking about his business where people drop off lawnmowers and pick them up. The other business, they're personal watercrafts and they're on trailers. There's no way that they cannot stop somewhere else and pull a trailer, half a block down to the repair shop to get it work done. So I really would like you to reconsider at least all of that. I find some of the proposals really disturbing. They really are. They really are. But I appreciate I think that's mostly what I have. But I appreciate your time and your listening to me. So,
Any questions?
Thank you.
Are you saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, so when you're pulling out onto Pittsburgh Street,
Yes.
Ford Road, you don't experience any problems pulling out?
Once in a while I will, yes. But I think
So what is the thing that impacts you the most? It's, would it be the parked vehicles? Would it be?
No, it's not the parked vehicles. No, you're very rarely it's a parked vehicle. Maybe sometimes the personal watercrafts are too far out from the sidewalk once in a while. They move those back. And even at that particular place, if you look at it, there's a curve in the road. And it's difficult. Even Paul Palo's trees block traffic. So, usually, but I'm very careful when I do that. I try not to go down here at rush hour and make a left. But
Why don't you go down at rush hour and make a left?
because of the traffic. It's hard. It's anywhere without a light in Chesapeake. And you're trying to make a cross traffic. It's just not just the end of Coolidge. So,
One of the problems we have is when there's cars parked on both sides, the firemen have expressed a concern about, because that's one of their main ways of getting out.
yes.
And in.
And in, so.
Yeah, that is a
Yeah,
concern.
yeah, we have a couple of concerns, but we sure don't want to drive anybody out of business.
Yeah, and I would think like Danny said, if somebody's parked illegally or not appropriately, how the police ticket them, and I think that would solve a lot of the problem with put Danny out of business, and even the jet ski people, they're not my friends either. But, I would think that would be appropriate. That would be very wrong, even immoral.
Any other questions? Charlotte,
Yes.
what's your last name?
Shippy.
Okay.
I'm on Coolidge, 113, and I'm not going to stand up, if that's okay.
That's perfectly sure.
And you are the mayor? I mean, you don't introduce yourself or anything?
That's what,
Oh,
he's the
okay.
mayor, I'm Paul Jack.
Oh, okay. Okay. And you're the council
I'm
president?
council president.
I see. And I don't know how all this was brought up, but I really do have to back these two gentlemen. I mean, I don't really want permit parking on our street. I think that's, you know, out of the ordinary for a small town, small street. You know, I can pull out onto Pittsburgh Street. Really, the fire trucks, I noticed, I sort of thought they went down Spruce and maybe up Highland, or maybe up Pillow, where there's a light, where there's more of an opening. I really, you know, I am surprised to hear about the fire trucks having a concern about going down Coolidge. And the amount of, I just really don't see them going down Coolidge. And I certainly don't have any problem. You know, there's the church and the little school, morning school from 9 to 12. Parents drop off their little children. I think it's convenient for them. I think it's safe for them. I don't think, you know, how are they going to feel when they pull up and see, you know, these signs? I mean, you know, and who's going to question them? They're going to think, oh, I really can't park here now, can I? What's this all about? Or maybe the school won't inform them. I really think, I don't know, you know, where all this came from. I mean, down in Oakland, I see permit parking, but that's a little different than Cheswick and Coolidge Avenue. Am I right?
You can,
And what
We're
about
just
the
listening
church?
to what you
And
have to
about
say.
the church, you know, people come for Weight Watchers. What are they going to think? Oh, I can't go down that street?
where do you live on Coolidge?
113,
Where's that?
next to Mike and Tracy,
Right in the middle.
right in the center,
Right in the center.
on the right-hand side, pulling out from into Pittsburgh Street.
So you have the corner facility that Danny's at, and then you have.
Jet skis, and of course, we have that
Classes.
new, wonderful,
Where do you live relative to where Lonoski's used to live?
across the street.
Across the street, right beside Tom, can't remember Tom's last name.
Mike and Tracy,
Mike, that's right. You live one up from there.
yes.
Right, got it.
But anyhow, I had called the borough manager concerning the new building we have to glorify our street. I mean, I think that is outrageous. That belongs on a farm. I really do. I mean, and I guess he explained to me that there had been no ordinance that was new in Cheswick for many years.
They've been given a cease and desist and take the thing down.
It's on the agenda a little bit later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard so many people, I mean, it's such an eyesore.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. Anything
I think
else?
so too.
Well, I really feel like, you know, my heart goes out to these men that have said, you know, what about the businesses? Cheswick is a small community. Why not keep it thriving if we have anything going for us, you know, jet skis, lawnmower repair. I mean, I think you ought to do everything you can to help these guys out. Thanks.
Okay, meeting minutes. Review the caucus meeting minutes from July. And can we have an action on passing the June minutes?
What we're gonna do this meeting, I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the June 13 caucus meeting and the June 19th council meeting.
So a second.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to approve the minutes for the June 13th caucus meeting and the June 19th council meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Okay, anything from the Allegheny Valley Joint Sewage?
Yes, just a real short, he was talking to me today about the design. They had a design meeting in July for the, going into the new sewage plant that they're gonna be building. He's also stressed that he will be coming to some of these meetings periodically to keep us all updated as we progress through this project.
Okay.
And also, I'd like to ask for executive session personnel afterwards.
Mayor?
Full report for next week.
Okay. Zoning officer?
Yeah, nothing.
He's not here. Treasurer's report, solicitor, water administration.
Yes, we had a DEP inspection, started one on July 27th, where the guy came in person. And then we had a follow-up call with that one August 9th, so we're waiting the results. And we'll say that Dave Houston was very, very helpful, answering a lot of questions for that, so it's very much appreciated.
Water billing process.
Okay, Ian filled me in. Today was the day we enforced the shut-off for the bills that were due July 6th. We shut off 3 of these accounts. 2 have already been turned back on as of this morning. Also, the new water bills will be sent out at the end of the month, around August 30th to 31st, and they will be estimates. They will be due on September 19th. And the borough office is in the process of developing a billing calendar and crafting new policies and procedures to create greater transparency for the water billing process.
That's it? Anything else? Okay, zoning development and ordinances. Discussion of the proposed ordinance on Coolidge Avenue. Anything to say?
Well, I appreciate the problem, obviously, but I don't want to hurt his business either, so. Is there any alternatives?
One of the things is that those properties are required to have parking spaces, access to and from the parking spaces. And there's not, it's a Pittsburgh Street address, and it's not supposed to have off-street parking, pure and simple. So Danny and I talked about this, and he basically said that he was going to clean out and I think get parking spaces.
But that's not going to assist us.
So they are required to have parking spaces on the property.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue the legal part of it, but I don't know, can we at least amend the ordinance to allow a drop-off, 15, what do you need, how much would you need, 15, 20? 15, 20 minutes. And then, Dan, you would have to enforce it.
It'd be fine. I'm all
And it
for
could be
I don't see it as
just one specific right in front of, run it right in front of his place. As far as the jet ski place, they're the ones that are causing the problem. I don't
So
have a
who's
lot
gonna
of-
keep,
Who's gonna keep watching that?
and who's gonna keep the jet skis from parking in his spot?
Are we gonna put a meter there? How are we gonna know
I-
they're 15 minutes?
I would at least like to try to help Dan out and put something there to allow a drop-off zone and see what happens. We can always change it. Rather than trying to think it through to all the possibilities, definitely, it seems like it's definite if we don't do something, his business is going to be adversely affected. So I'd like to try something. If that doesn't work, we'll try something else.
The cleanest and most straightforward way of dealing with the congestion there is to not let parking. But the other part of this is the permit parking up on the other side. We could suspend that for, just postpone that in case there's an issue up there. We could go always in the future, go and do permit parking, and that would probably leave him, because he's right adjacent to that area.
I had just quickly bring up, I had looked through our code book briefly, and there was a section of it that seemed to authorize us to be able to enforce or create temporary parking restrictions for the purpose of investigating a potential solution.
That's in the actual, that's actually in the borough code.
In the state,
That's actually in the borough code. You have the right to, you have the ability to experiment, it's called experiment.
yeah, I think it was sort of, it's like a 90-day period, so that might be an option for us to examine potential solutions to that.
How would you use that?
I don't have the exact word in front of me, but it seemed to say that we, as council, could create parking restrictions for a temporary period of 90 days to experiment with potential solutions to problems. So I think it said that, we had to obviously pass a resolution or something along those lines. We can't have that posting.
What you have to do is pass an ordinance with the sunset.
Okay.
So, can we make it like a load, like you see those signs,
Loading zone or something.
loading zone or something like that?
Drop-offs down before.
I've seen those in many cities where they say no parking, just a loading and unloading zone.
Like a drop-off zone.
Right.
Yeah, drop it, and
And-
then,
That's also covered in the ordinance. You're not, there's provisions for drop-off zones that are not on the street. They're supposed to.
I understand,
Okay.
I understand. I'm not being legal here, I'm just being empathetic, okay?
So how do you, how do you pick the spot?
Because we even talked in the
How do you
other
pick the
meetings, is
spot?
that we would not adversely affect them by not enforcing it when somebody drops something off. But another council could come in and you could have a bunch of whatevers and then they could enforce it. So these load, unload zones, I don't know how many feet we could have. We could have a different colored line there and
And how would you decide where to place it?
we would ask Dan how much room he needed and
Would you ask the jet ski people how much room they needed?
I'm proposing this right in front of Dan's store for his place, and if somebody violates it, like the jet ski place, where they're more than 10 minutes or 15 minutes, then Dan can call the police, and the policeman will come and ticket them. I mean, we'll have eyes and ears there, right?
I would guess that a jet ski would probably be there longer than normal.
Well, we're not doing this for the
I'm
jet
just
ski.
saying, so I think
The
that.
jet ski place does not work with us.
Right.
They park their vehicles out there, they've left them overnight, we've tried to work with them. I'm not sympathetic to them anymore, but I am sympathetic to Dan. So, I propose that we have a load, unload zone. How many feet would you need, Dan?
What's the car, 20 feet? What if somebody has a
Well,
little trailer behind you?
more than feet. You could,
Two cars. I don't
well,
know.
how about the width of his property or the length of his property?
well, his property, I don't know.
Well, like I go from that one downspout to the other downspout.
I'd like to at least try it. I just would feel bad. I mean, if he loses that business, he's done. I couldn't sleep at night. So I agree with you, Paul. You're right. I'm not arguing about being right here. I'm just arguing, I'm not arguing about anything. I'm just appealing to the rest of the council to see if we can find some solution that would accommodate his modest business.
And then from his business down to the corner, it'd be
I'm
a
just
typical
saying
area.
maybe 2 car lengths, 3 car lengths, because people pull off the trailers with riding lawnmowers, right? So what is that?
Probably 30 feet.
30
The
feet?
car is a pickup truck.
And-
I
and
assume
if-
it's
So
20.
what if you had access to the area on the other side of the alley?
It would-
Basically where you park your red truck?
You mean up the street?
Yeah. What if we don't make that permit parking?
Well, you're still gonna have some people there, but seniors are gonna have a harder time. My main concern was older people trying to pull in front, because most of the time I do lift them out, and I try to get them fixed as soon as possible and get them back to them. But if I gotta walk up the street and I'm by myself, unless my old buddy's hanging out. I mean, I do need some in front of the store. I mean, Christmas time comes, we sell the trains. And I know you don't want any traffic parked on the street there, but I still feel that there should be some traffic allowed to park in front of the building.
So what if you made a parking spot on the side of the building or behind the building?
Behind, I don't think it's gonna work at all, for the simple fact a lot of people don't even realize it. And what if somebody has a truck with a trailer? How are they gonna turn around?
Well, ultimately, you're gonna need parking on that property, according to our zoning ordinances. Now, if you're suggesting that we ignore zoning, that's a problem.
Well, I'm not saying it. To a point, we are grandfathered, but there's a lot of places here that do not have off-the-premise parking.
Why do you say your grandfather?
Well, the business has been there, and I did get a variance when I moved there.
And what the variance say?
You'd have to look it up in your thing. I didn't take mine out.
Did we find a variance? We don't have any record of a
It
variance.
should be. When I called Allegheny County, they said all the boroughs should have copies of all the variances that they ever did.
Well, we can only conclude apparently that we don't have a variance.
Maybe what we should do with both is just stay on point, and that's moving forward. Moving forward, can we come up with an alternate solution? I would be okay with it, but I'm only one person. How about the rest of you? Speak up. Do you want to go with the ordinance as is?
Well, we have to, if we're gonna go that direction, we're gonna have to go into executive session
Okay,
to talk legal issues.
okay. Right.
Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
I make a motion to go into executive session.
Discuss legal and
Do we want to go,
personnel.
I would suggest we go through the rest of the meeting, table this to the end, so that everybody.
We can do that.
so that
But
we-
this is on, but I can get them back here quicker if we don't.
Okay,
I mean,
sure.
It doesn't matter to me.
What we can do is go into executive session, talk about this, come back, and then you guys come back in. Or we can hold off this to the end so that people can leave and only those people interested in this. Which there's not that many people there, so I guess we could go into executive session.
There's a hand over here.
Okay, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
There's a hand.
That's okay, he did not sign up to talk, we're moving on.
I make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No, you leave.
We are going into executive, CC talked to, who's the charge of our zoning, talked to some residents on Coolidge. So can you explain what you found out?
Hi, I'm Kathy. Basically, a lot of them just are concerned about when they don't have parking in front of their house. They leave, there's no parking because somebody from the businesses or whatever are parked there. They have to park their, whatever, the next corner there, probably at Spruce. That's a concern. You had mentioned about the church issue. I talked to a lady from the church there. Her concern really was just about having maybe an officer there to like do crossing. So it really wasn't a
On
concern
Pittsburgh
about
Street.
on Pittsburgh Street there. We used to have that, so we're gonna, talk to the mayor to see if there's.
Yeah, they still do it on Sundays. We have policemen there.
I think with school
They're across.
starting back, she's
They weren't there last
requesting.
summer.
They're only there
Yeah.
just for that.
So she's requesting if we
She has a call, I
can
can't do.
do that, while they have their preschool drop off pickup, because the parents will park across the street and then they walk over, or caregivers or whomever. So those were some of the concerns that,
That might coincide at the same time Bob falls, or the daylight patrolmen will phone the school buses in town. They do that all,
they used to do that. I haven't seen that in a long
at
time.
least they do it all the time.
From up on Fairmont, I haven't seen that.
I witness it all the time. I think it's routine.
Do you have the ability to have auxiliary police appointed as crossing guards?
Something else we have to have.
Do we not have that authority as it is right now, or to have crossing guards, or just
I
auxiliary?
imagine they used to have patrol boys and such. I imagine they would have something.
I'm saying, will we have to actually put an action of us, or if we can just go ahead and do it?
I can talk to Bob about it and see what the legalities are.
The two residents, the first one's up on each side above the alley, if you will, both said that through the week when the church has preschool, I think they call it, that the teachers do park there, and it is a nuisance. Apparently, they've had situations where they'll pull out and the other people will pull in. So they're not real happy about the church parking there. It's not like they're protesting. They describe it as a nuisance. They describe the congestion at the corner, because a lot of them won't go out there anymore because it's just too congested down in the corner. They just go the other way. Let's see what else. They describe that as a hazard and a nuisance. So, you know, we've talked to people down there. I've had at least a dozen over the last year or so complaints about Coolidge and the turn there. So this is like a dozen different people, they'll just periodically say, that's a really bad intersection. It's really too congested. There's almost accidents there all the time. So it's a little bit contrary to what the gentleman said earlier on. There's other people that feel that there's an issue. I had one situation which was a little strange because I was actually passing through Chesapeake and coming from Springdale going to Harmer, and I was behind a jet ski who abruptly pulled off on Pittsburgh Street. They stopped basically in the middle of Pittsburgh Street right in front of me because there was no place to pull in or turn or anything. And that, you know, that was almost an accident. So, and I've had similar complaints. I think even Danny said to me, and I don't want to, but people don't go out there. They just don't go out there. There's been a series of issues where you make the bend and the jet skis are hanging in the actual driving lane because they haven't quite made the bend so that the jet ski is sticking out into the road. So periodically you're having to move back and forth just like an obstacle course trying to get through there. So there is congestion. It is dangerous. So basically what we've established so far is that at least as best I can tell, with the congestion, you need to have some appropriate demarcation point to alleviate that congestion. And the most logical entity is that alley. So the alley is there. So from a pure congestion standpoint, that's probably the most likely place for it to be. If the fire truck's coming up and people are coming down, they can use the alley to get out of the way. Vice versa, if the fire truck is leaving in that direction, going to a fire, and a car is coming up, they can slow down at least a second and let them go up the alley. So the alley, for many circumstances, is a reasonable spot to place the no parking. As far as the business is concerned, there's a lot of zoning issues at that place. And you know, I'm not sure exactly the fault on enforcing. I mean, we have a zoning officer and we have police, and one of the issues is there's a 75-foot triangle, which means that at an intersection, starting 75 feet, let's say up Coolidge, to 75 feet down Pittsburgh Street, you're supposed to be able to see. So given that bend, once you put that 75 foot in that bend, that takes over much of the parking lot in front of the, I'll say the jet ski place. That's supposed to be visible. That would alleviate some of the issue if you could see around the bend. So that needs to be enforced. I've talked to the police about it. They say it's a zoning issue. Technically it's in the zoning book, but it's on the street. So, and I think a couple years ago we tried to enforce it. So there's a lot of issues here, and the people who spoke today indicated that it would be a problem with the business. We've discussed that. Anything else I want to summarize? Anything else to summarize? I'm trying to summarize all this just right.
Yeah.
I guess it's just.
One last little suggestion I have. Years ago, Jimmy Desmond, you probably remember when he was our zoning officer, he suggested that we make it Coolidge one way, that would alleviate the two-way jam up of a possible wreck. if we would have either coming out from Spruce or from Freeport. So either one, that'd be something.
Well, it'd have to be in,
Yeah, it would.
but it still doesn't alleviate the congestion.
Well, it alleviates some of it, nobody would be coming down in the direction.
Well, then you have the fire company have to be, I mean, they have to get out and in, so if you,
They could use Hill or.
No, you wouldn't, if they used the wrong way in an emergency, I don't think you'd take it anymore.
you could eliminate the street.
And then they could use Highland and go on, or.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably another consideration, but I think
I think that would cut the problem down in half, because you won't have nearly, only half the amount of people going up and down the street. That was Jimmy Desmond, he was our building zoning officer for years.
So we're probably to the point that we want to consider alternatives or go with it as is, right?
Well, I think the whole idea of the permit parking thing, we can postpone. I mean, I've seen shaking of heads like, okay, we can postpone that portion. So that basically frees up the area from the alley to Spruce and whatever parking that would provide. Recognizing that the local residents find that, find parking there and other people parking there a nuisance. But if it's just cars, they might be tolerant, because there is one vacant lot, catty corner from, we're talking the alley, catty corner across the alley to Coolidge. There's a vacant lot there, and residents don't park in front of that. So that, in essence, could be his parking spot. So, anything else?
I would like to make one side of the street a loading, unloading zone. That would be what I would propose. That's my thoughts. But the rest of council.
I don't want to make it even more complicated, but can we also make it a one-way, or do we need to?
So all you have to do is hang sign.
Well, you better talk to the residents about that too. I mean, that's.
Yeah, the one, I think
And
for
talk
right,
to the fire
I think for
department.
right now,
For right
right now, with this ordinance, yeah, the one way, I think we would need CC to do a poll and, talk to people. But,
I have a bit of an apprehension of proceeding. It sounds like we have a lot of parking rules and ordinances and zoning regulations on the books, and if they were all enforced, would this be a problem?
Yeah.
And if it wouldn't be a problem, then I don't see how adding more ordinances on top is going to do anything other than hurt the people that are already going to be abiding by the ordinances as they are now. So I'm wondering if we can just make sure that whatever we have is actually enforced. If that rectifies it wrong, I think that's something we should strongly consider.
Yeah, there's a lot to that too.
I understand there's a lot to that.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, look,
I'll tell you what,
if we enforce zoning, okay? Fire codes, occupancy permits, trash, vegetation, that whole place gets cleaned up. I would be willing to do that. I mean,
We have those are the ordinances
We can't spot do it, we have to do it through
This-
the town line.
this might be, this is probably
Yeah, to the
doomed to
point.
failure because committees never work, but maybe if we gave it a shot where we would take the owner of the building, the residents of the building, a couple people from that live on the street, a member or two of council, particularly CC, a facilitator. I'd be willing to facilitate, but just get everybody together and see if we can come up with an optimal solution that everybody could live with. But you would start off with what are the issues? The main issue is.
you don't have to solve that problem.
Yeah,
right now.
no, I don't mean that, but I mean, if we did something like
We
that.
need to enforce all our zoning.
Well, that's what I mean, that, it's, there is the proposal that if there was parking on the side, would that solve, on the back, or wherever we're talking about, would that solve the problem? But to do that, you would need to do that, and then we could come up with a plan. But it's probably, because everybody has a different perspective on it, I don't know if that would work. But we could give it a try.
Well, zoning shouldn't be a different perspective.
No, I understand, but I mean, we may have to modify some zoning.
You don't modify.
That's what we're doing right here. That's what this is.
You don't modify, well, you can modify our zoning code with ordinances if you want and apply them across the town, but you don't do it
No,
for
no,
a street.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, I hear Mike saying that possibly part of this could be solved by resolving some other contributors. And we might not even have to pass this, or we could pass it, but, which would solve the congestion problem, but Dan wouldn't be hurt, but, so right now, I would either say form a committee and try to come up with an optimal solution, or I would like to see a loading unloading zone for 30 minutes on what would that be? The east.
When you say loading, unloading?
It would be, there'd be signs.
And why 30 minutes?
Why 30 minutes? That's enough.
How long does it take to take a lawnmower off your truck and put it
Okay,
in?
well then, I don't know,
15?
what, is 15 enough?
15?
As long as I'm not busy with somebody else.
On what you've seen as far as a loading zone time, so.
I like,
Usually 15 to 30. So
Yeah.
well, that's like unloading trucks and stuff. They're not unloading. This is a stop zone. This is a drop.
Drop-off zone.
Well, and the only way this could be enforced is if if somebody's there more than that, you'd have to call it.
Well, I just tell them to leave.
What was that?
I tell them to
No,
leave.
don't, you shouldn't get in
Punch
trouble.
notice.
Yeah, we don't
No,
wanna,
I mean.
we don't wanna put you in harm's way.
No, it's not gonna put me in harm's way. I've been
Dan
doing it
says
right
call
now.
the police and they'll
All the
enforce
police will
it.
be right up.
But anyway,
So
go ahead.
let's enforce zoning. And we'll get it, now we lost the zoning officer, right?
Did we?
Yes, he quit. So we're gonna have to get a new zoning officer. That's probably next on the, so it's not quite that simple.
I understand.
Kathy, any thoughts?
I
You say no if you want to.
No, I know. I kind of have to agree with Frank. I'd like to see like a 15-minute drop-off zone. And I'd like to put it in for like a 90-day and check it out. And if it works, okay. If it doesn't, then we come back at it and try something.
And we're doing this all along that side of the street?
Just the Dan's side.
Just Dan's side?
Well, no, the whole side.
That
There's
whole
no-
side, or
right.
that,
The jet ski can use it also, and
yeah, you have to
anybody
let
could-
jet ski use it,
Well, it
whether
could be
they were
anybody-
nice or not. Yeah.
Anybody could use it.
Right.
Would it make sense to also have the other side of the street, because it could probably irrelevant, they probably would not use it anyway, but would that?
Drop off on the other side of the street?
Oh, I
No,
wouldn't do that
Yeah,
because
drop off on one side and
you
on one
just
side.
need one side, right, Dan?
Yeah,
One side.
You put it on the other side and.
you're gonna have a mess.
Right.
Why don't we just leave it as is and enforce zoning?
And what would that be? What would be,
Our-
what's the
our-
consequence?
Our
You-
IPMC,
You
International Maintenance Property Code, and our Borough Code.
I understand, which, I don't know what the consequence is, I'm not intimate to this. Is this like, it's gonna cause other hardship, correct?
Sure. No, I don't know what's gonna cause hardship. We have to enforce our zoning.
Well, I
I
agree.
mean, the police either have to
I
do it or
agree.
the zoning officer
I agree
has to do it.
I agree.
You just can't let it
I
go.
agree, I agree you should.
So
enforce-
let's start with
But if-
that.
But if you did that, we still have the congestion thing, so I have no problem passing this with the loading, unloading zone. You still gotta address that.
See how it goes? Just do it for a time frame?
You may not even need the loading zone if you enforce zoning.
Why is that? I mean, people are still gonna park on the side of the street.
Maybe not as many people.
I'm okay waiting and seeing what happens.
Okay.
But we don't, it's gonna be a while before we enforce the zoning ordinance,
Sure.
because we don't have somebody.
Well, we'll work on it. So the general consensus what's the general consensus?
I think the general consensus is the 15-minute just say 15 minutes, drop off, for 90 days.
We can do that,
90 days?
Joe, can we?
Well, what you're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to rework this ordinance.
No, what I meant was, can we try that without an ordinance? Did you say there's?
No, you would have to pass.
We'd have to pass.
Yeah,
So we'd have a
experimental
simple,
regulation.
we'd have a simple ordinance that would just,
That's what I'm saying, don't even,
don't even do that.
if there's parking there, they can park there all the time, right?
Yeah, this,
You don't need a 15-minute drop-off.
I think if, I see where you're coming from. I think people, it's kind of like water, electricity, path of least resistance. If you have parking in the back.
What, he knows that I know something he doesn't know. That's what the issue is.
I'm trying to find out what it is, yeah.
Well, here's the issue. I explained the issue. The issue is, none of those jet skis, they're required to have parking. So all those jet skis will probably have to go. Danny is going to have to, well, not Danny, but the property owner is going to have to provide parking for the residents upstairs. You need 1.5, there's 2 apparently residents. There's fire code issues, and he knows what I'm talking about. There's fire code issues that have to be cleaned up. All those ordinances have to be enforced, and they should be enforced.
Yeah. With the due notice.
Yes, and he's working on it. He and I talked about it.
Okay.
So,
that would.
I think
that would at least give us a chance to. It would not have an adverse impact on his business while we start addressing these other issues.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's really no.
I just don't understand how that's going to stop the congestion problem, though, because if they do put the parking in the back and all that stuff, the jet ski people are still going to park on the street.
Well, we'll see.
Okay, I'm okay with waiting. I mean, we lived with it this long.
Sure. Sure.
How about the rest of you?
we've been talking jet ski for the last 6 years, at least, that I know of.
How do you feel, Mike, in CC and
I would like to see us enforce what we have, see if it addresses the situation. If it doesn't, then we can come back and take additional steps.
All right.
Yeah, that's all we're saying.
Okay, I'm okay. And I'm just one person, so.
I'm okay with the trial.
Everybody else okay?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 2.
So we're tabling, or not, voting tabling this ordinance, so we'll sort of put it aside now for.
Right.
Now, not to belabor, but what's the plan for enforcement then?
Well, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
It's on the
We
agenda.
gotta get a zoning officer and then
Yeah, we'll keep
you'll have to
progressing.
cite what the problems are. Okay, I got it, all right.
Under zoning. You want to?
Yeah, I can speak to this. a little bit.
Either or Kathy. It's easy.
That aforementioned issue with the 1315 Pittsburgh Street, which is that big structure, our third-party enforcement officer has issued them basically a denial of occupancy. So they were doing work in the structure, and they have to remedy that situation. There's a litany of things that are wrong with it, and I do believe he's going to start citing them this week, $1,000 a day until they remedy it, which should take care of the situation.
Is the structure itself okay, or is it the
Well,
activity inside?
They built it not, so they were issued a building permit, but he's not the owner and he put his name down there. There are a lot of weird little issues that are probably legal,
We
but I
can
can't discuss.
get you the actual report.
But we're moving towards.
Yes, it is
resolving
being
that.
remedied, and I'll call Scott Shermack, who's our third-party code guy, tomorrow.
Great,
Okay.
nice job.
Zoning hearing board? Who's doing that?
I can speak to that as well.
Okay.
So the zoning hearing board meeting occurred August 9th. The zoning hearing board denied a variance request for a carport on Oak Street because it did not meet the borough's setback requirements. There was also a second hearing, but it was postponed, and it's currently being rescheduled with the zoning hearing board. I'll probably have an update on Tuesday with the exact date, and I will notify the parties that are interested.
Is this carport already open?
Yes,
That's already up.
so I'll work on the next steps of that.
Okay, item number 4, action.
What about O'Reilly?
That was,
We just did that.
You did that?
it's rescheduled, it's being rescheduled.
No, I wanted to ask a question.
Alright, sure.
What happened? I thought they had changed their plans and we didn't even need.
The appeal is actually not from O'Reilly's, it's from a lawyer for Rite Aid and a lawyer for the Chesapeake Shopping Plaza. And it's an appeal on Rick Frank's determination that the gross floor area met the requirements of the permit.
Oh, okay. All right,
Okay.
I got it. I understand.
Item number 4 then. Do we have a motion? That's easy.
Should we just read the motion first?
Yep. Please.
Okay. I make the motion to accept Rick Frank's resignation as, effective August 31st, 2018.
Okay, we have a motion to accept Rick Frank's resignation as zoning officer, code enforcement officer, and fire inspector effective August 31st, 2018. Can I have a second?
I second the motion.
Discussion. Basically, he's decided he doesn't want to do it anymore. It's as simple as that. And he's actually done, he's probably stayed on longer than he really wanted to, quite frankly. And
That's the thing.
we should thank him
Right.
for his efforts.
And could we could we send him a letter of thanks from the
Yes.
council?
Yes, we'll have the
Yeah.
office.
Something saying.
Okay, so let's vote on this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Now to
Motion
find,
passes.
to find a new one,
So, Sam Sack, who is he lives in Fraser, but he grew up in Springdale, and he's a builder in this area, said he's interested in doing it. So we can either just go that route, or I don't know whether we advertise or something, but we need to get somebody on board by the end of the month, and our success at finding zoning officers is not high. So I guess the suggestion would be is that we appoint Sam Sack as the zoning officer.
so he's gonna submit like a letter saying I want to be.
He gave me a letter already.
Okay. Are we gonna vote on it tonight?
We can, or we can wait till Tuesday.
Oh, just to hear something about him. So he's a contractor then?
He's a contractor. He grew up in Springdale. He's built a lot of houses here. He helped Rick Franks. They had a situation up here with the construction of some back steps that were kind of flimsy, and they brought him in to give a professional opinion on that.
And-
So he's experienced in electrical, building of fences, building structures.
And he's willing to do it for the same compensation that Rick was doing it?
Yeah, at least for the time being.
And Rick, though, is gonna continue being like the fire marshal?
He's not the fire marshal, and that's one of the things that came up in the process.
Oh,
He only saw himself doing that as part of the zoning officer. The International Property Maintenance Code has the fire inspection portion to it. So as zoning officer, he also did fire inspection. He
well,
doesn't see himself as chief as doing that.
just some history. The compensation he was getting was what Rick Conroy was getting. And the compensation we came up with was, we had taken the compensation that the zoning, the inspector was getting and the fire guy. We put it together to make it a nice position, so that the compensation we came up with was based on fire and whatever. Just history. I'm not saying don't do it. So we need a fire marshal or fire inspector.
Well, it's in the zoning. It's part of zoning. It's part of the International Property Maintenance
Okay,
Code.
so you're saying we don't need one? I'm okay with that if you are. Just bringing up the way it used to be. So he's going to look for,
I mean, we can look for somebody, but we had a tough enough time defining what a zoning
so
officer did.
he goes and he sees tires in a place. He's gonna say, you can't do that because it's against the fire code. Or he sees, some drums of flammable liquids in the wrong place. I mean, you'll be looking for those kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that's what Rick was saying. I
Well,
think he was.
we were, that's a,
Okay, I got it. Okay, I'd be okay with it, I mean, if he's not confident, then we need somebody.
we can vote on it on Tuesday.
Who's gonna train him and be his mentor?
You are.
Me? Yeah, right. That's the bowling lady.
I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it.
Oh, you'll take care of it. Well, could Rick at
Well,
least?
from that perspective, what we've been doing, I mean, quite honestly, up until like 3 weeks ago, I wasn't sure how the whole zoning situation worked.
Yeah,
And we had Shermack and what his duties were. We had our zoning ordinances.
Uh-huh.
We had the International Property Maintenance Code. We had National Fire Codes. There was a whole series of things. That's what got us in trouble with the maybe this is legal, but that metal building over there,
yeah,
because that wasn't Rick's to approve.
I got it.
Because it was, and so Rick Shermack is certified, it's a state program, it's the Uniform Construction Code. So he's certified in the Uniform Construction Code. So the O'Reilly situation, that metal building, all fall under Shermack, who's our, in essence, code enforcer. He's kind of niched out a little portion of zoning.
Could we do?
So Rick Franks has been doing basically what I call simple zoning, which is what's functionally in our code. So it's high grass, it's
Yes.
it's seeing around
And
the
that's what he's
bend.
supposed to do.
Right. But it doesn't take certification to do that.
I'd like to propose this, once we vote him in. I would like to propose, maybe we pay Rick for 1 more month, and he spends a month within the training.
He's not going to do it.
No?
No.
He's that,
And we don't need him to do it.
okay. I would also propose that Shermack, even if we have to pay him, meets with him
Absolutely.
at least for 1 day and goes over the lines of the bark gate, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
That's
at
already.
least I got 50%.
No, I mean, Ian's been holding down the fort on a lot of this, and
All right.
and he and I,
Well, let's bring
believe me, as silly as it sounds right now, we weren't sure how the whole thing worked. Yes,
Okay.
Michael was.
So-
John, I understand that you articulated.
Yeah.
So I recommend CC makes a motion at your committee that we appoint this guy.
We'll get it in the next.
Or, that'll have, let's make it clear too what he gets paid and everything, so there's no confusion in the motion.
Yeah. Okay, public health and safety.
Okay. We are still working with Tornado Township on putting together a bid for the refuge. Ian is in the process of undertaking the old contract, essentially.
Getting it so it's editable.
Yeah.
Created some issues where prior version was some PDF version, some Word document, so we want it so that we can now moving forward edit it at any point in time. 3 years from now, 6 years.
So, you're doing some primary advertising for bids. Go ahead.
Okay. Review the bill list. Let's see if. Is it here someplace?
We'll.
We're voting on this Tuesday. I just want to see if, I haven't looked at it yet, so I just want to see if there was anything here that stood out. Okay, take a look at the bill list. I just said that. If there's any questions, contact Ian.
What happened with the interconnect?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, interconnect.
I can leave this. There are a couple parts there. The meters need replaced, so that's what you're probably looking at, the LV water. And I've been talking with Farmer about that for a few months now, give or take, and say where it goes with those meters. Now we're having a separate issue with it, with the valve. So it's a whole different issue. Davey's been doing a phenomenal job again, as always, helping me out. Basically, he's manually opening and closing the valve because the valve's not working. So what happens when it doesn't work? There's a chance that the water tank just empties. So basically, empties or overfills. So he's been around the clock manually filling it out while we wait for the special contractor to come in who happened to be on vacation. For the 10-day period, we called a second contractor, and they also weren't available, so someone's going to come out on Monday, one of them or both. And we're going to work through that. So I've
On
also
a string, very thin string with this.
Yeah, and Davey and Harmer did all the MacGyvering they possibly could for a few days, and then it just kept getting worse a little bit, so they now just turn it off at the curb box as a final resort, and luckily that's holding up for now.
Can you check with Tom Benecki if a new interconnect would qualify for a grant application? Because they really encourage mutual assistance.
Yeah, and I have alerted Matt from Senate about the issue, so I can work with him on some of those things as well, when he knows.
But one way or the other, I mean,
Sooner or later.
this is like 1/4 of what it would cost to put a new interconnect in. That's it.
So it's,
Who knows what the next thing is gonna happen with that old interconnect.
hopefully I'll be able to get a better report on Monday.
And with Matt, just keep them focused on an interconnect in parallel with that one over there, and
Yeah, I just basically informed him what was going on to set the stage in case we needed his involvement
yeah,
at this juncture.
because Joe could almost design it for you and where it would go.
And there was preliminary discussions about the water tank and whether we actually even need that at all, and there are a lot of weird things that are being discussed, long-term solutions.
Paul would understand that more.
Yeah, we probably don't.
You think you could maintain the pressure? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
without the water
Oh,
tank
yeah.
all the way up at the top.
Oh, yeah.
It's higher.
Oh, Harbor's probably 200 feet higher than that. I mean, Springdale Borough's water is 100 foot higher than our tank.
It would be fantastic if we didn't need that tank is an expense and a
Well,
problem.
with the new lines in, we may have to put some new lines in, that's the.
Yeah.
that's-
Okay,
that's
I
the
understand,
trick.
but it just struck me that something like an interconnect where you got two communities working together on water just might qualify for some kind of grant.
Yeah, we're going to put all options on the table.
Okay.
We're just sort of problem solving at the moment, and it just happened in the past week, and we're waiting on the consultant to come in.
I know you got a million pokers in the fire, so this is,
Okay, COG?
there was nothing last month, and this month there won't be a meeting.
We skipped the parts and recreation.
The only thing that's happening on COG is we're getting, they're buying that equipment. That's gonna be another thing to address, another possible benefit, but nothing for free as far as effort goes.
We'll do pensions and insurance and parks and recreation?
Already pensions and insurance.
Okay.
Parks and Recreation, Paul and Ian and myself met to talk about Hagan Park, and we want to get a relationship with Springdale on that. And Ian had told the gentleman in Springdale to give me a call to get together, and that's in a couple of weeks. Nothing's happened.
I can follow up with Springdale Borough again, see if they want to have a conversation.
That's my report.
Any old business? Any new business? Motion to go into executive session
Or
for personnel?
I make a motion, we go into executive session for